Hi sweeties, how are you doing? Welcome to ncêled. If this is your first time of coming across this channel, sweetheart, kindly smash the subscribe button, turn on the notification so you get notified each time I upload, and please give this video a thumb up. I appreciate you all, and I want to say a very big thank you to every one of you for always coming back to watch my videos and subscribing. Thank you all for always coming through. You all are super awesome. So today we'll be talking about a biracial lady who actually got so many, like a lot of black people mad. I mean, she pissed them off by saying that the speaking AAVE is ghetto. And I was like, who told you speaking AAVE is ghetto? Because I really do not get it. And she also went further to say that segregation is over. Like there is no longer segregation going on among black and white. And why are black people still gatekeeping AAVE? I mean, she said so many things, and a lot of people actually came all out for her because they felt like she was being very disrespectful and the rest of it. You know what? Stay good to the screen. Let me roll the clip, then we'll come back to talk about it. And I want to read all your comments. Let me know what you all think in the comment section. So straight up, let's get in. Let me roll the clip.
Why shouldn't white people use AAVE?
So this is definitely going to have to be a two-parter. I have so much to say about this, and I think it is rare that I see a video that gets me so fired up. So a little background for me. I have grown up my entire life hearing that I do not sound black, that I sound very white, and I speak very proper, all because I pronunciate my words and because I have a decent vocabulary. And this created an identity crisis in myself as a kid because I connected being black with speaking this in a very specific type of way. And I thought that maybe this is a skill that I could learn. So I would literally fake trying to sound ghetto because I was connecting that with blackness. And I thought that if I'm not good at this, then I can just learn it. I can just practice and eventually I'll sound black enough. Now, it should be very obvious that this is a very toxic way of thinking. But what I don't understand is that it should be common sense that people sound a certain way based on their environment, not on the color of their skin or their cultural background. She said in the video that black people shouldn't be able to speak in AAVE because that's something that comes natural to us, in that they don't have the black experience, so they can't share those same words. I call BS because I don't speak just like every other black person. That seems like she's trying to put us all in a box and say that black people sound like this, dress like this, and listen to this type of music. And if you don't fit that stereotype, then you're not black enough, honey. It's so weird too because I looked at this list of what AAVE was, and it was the most basic words that I considered to be American slang. It was words like boo, sis, pressed, fam. And we're trying to say that our community has claimed all those words and nobody else can say them. Like, why are you so mad? It's crazy. Like, imagine just carrying around that much hate and anger around every day. I tend to get recommended a lot of videos of these, like, maybe white girls or Asian girls who sound what I would consider ghetto, or maybe like a Creole accent or something. And the comments are filled with people saying, why are you trying to be someone you're not? Why are you trying to sound black? Why are you faking this or whatever? But who gives you the right to tell someone that that's not how they naturally speak? It's so hypocritical, isn't it? To say that black people have to sound this way and white people have to sound that way. It doesn't matter if you're white and you grew up in Louisiana. You should sound exactly the same as like every other basic white person, and the same thing for me, like I should sound like it came straight from Compton. I don't understand this way of thinking. Go to part 2. So I mentioned in the last video that I used to fake trying to sound more black because people made comments about it so much. And it took me a very long time to just accept who I was and accept that this is the way that I sound, and not everybody has to sound that way. The main reason that I had this issue was because I have one side of the family that I would consider to be more hood and the other side is like suburban. And I spent most of my time around my suburban side, but whenever I went around the hood side of my family, they would constantly make me feel like an outsider. I don't think they were intentionally trying to make me feel bad, but as a kid who just wanted to be accepted by what I considered to be the cooler side of my family, which again, that just goes to show like just, I don't know what society is trying to teach young black kids and how they should be, but I consider this side to be cooler. So it made me feel so sad that they didn't see me as one of them. For everyone out there who supports this AAVE thing and, you know, separating races of people to make everyone sound a certain way, I just think that you should take a second to look back in history and understand that this stereotype was rooted in the white community, and black people were made out to sound very unintelligent. And that's why for decades people just expected all of us to sound a certain way, and we've moved past that. What I'm getting a lot from this young woman that I stitched to in the last video is that she just wants to be a victim. You know, she spoke about oppression and not living the black experience, and she kind of made it sound as if like being black in America now is really hard, but it's far from that. Now, I'm not going to be naive and say that everyone's had the same experience as me, but I think it's a little bit much for her to say that everyone has had the same experience that she has. If she's lived a hard life, that sucks. But Asians have hard lives, Hispanics have hard lives, white people have hard lives. I personally have lived a very privileged life, and there's nothing that I have tried to achieve that I couldn't, or that I felt like, you know, in the future I can't do because I'm a black woman. This is a terrible message to send to the young black generation, to young kids, telling them that you're disadvantaged, that you're oppressed, that whenever you go to college you won't be able to achieve the same things as your white friends because the color of your skin. Tell them that they can. Uplift them. I don't know. This needs to change. This needs to change.
It's a brain reset. Let me start from there. And who told her that black people, like, do black people need, do they need somebody to tell them that they can achieve whatever they want to achieve? I mean, she made so many points that are irrelevant, and she was like way off from, like, you know, what this person was like, you know, the video she stitched. I mean, who was asking her about her family background and how she grew up and the rest of it? Like, oh, she said the segregation is over, like, you know, so black people got to, like, you know, stop acting the way they act and all that. It's all right. Let's get into this teaching so we'll see what people got to say about that. I don't want to talk too much about her. Let's get into it.
So I would literally fake trying to sound ghetto because I was connecting that.
So I suggest you guys go watch her video before I get into this, because you need to fully understand where I'm coming from. She made a video basically saying that black people are wrong for gatekeeping AAVE and that all people should speak it, be able to speak it because it's about where they grew up, not how they speak, blah, blah, blah. Go watch her video. Let's also note that her caption said that segregation is over and that we're gatekeeping AAVE. Okay, so to this creator, either you're just trying to appease the white people on this app or you're just flat out ignorant. Either way it goes, I'm going to let you know about yourself. So the whole video you made, you were extremely condescending. Let's start there. You spoke from a place thinking that you're better than somebody. You compared AV to being ghetto multiple times, straight out of Compton. You use the phrase ghetto repeatedly to describe AVE. You started the video by saying how insecure you were about your voice and how you spoke, and that you tried to learn AVE so you can be more black, thinking that that's what blackness was, blah, 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 blah. And then you also mentioned that you pronunciate and you have a good vocabulary. Okay, that has nothing to do with AAVE. So I'm going to let you know, AAVE does not define black people. All black people do not have to speak that way. That doesn't take away from it being a black way of speaking, period. There's white people that I grew up around that don't use AAVE, and they grew up in the same place as me. So that's not a valid point. You are projecting your insecurities from growing up and people calling you white or saying that you talk white. That's why you made this video, because no one's saying that in order to be black, you have to use AAVE. I'm going to try to put it in a way that you can understand. Here's an example, the N-word. The N-word is a black word. Black people should only say it to each other. White people should not say the N-word. That doesn't mean in order to be black, you have to use the N-word. Every black person does not use the N-word. Do you understand? You said that us black people are being hateful and we're mad and that we're just angry, and how do we walk around with that much hate and that much anger? You're using the exact words that white people use against us on a daily basis to put us down. We're called angry black women all the time. You use the exact words they use against us. I'm not even going to waste my time trying to educate you on segregation, since you for some reason believe that it doesn't exist and that it's completely over and we live in a wonderful world with peaches and fucking rainbows and we all get along and we all just walk hand in hand with all the white people. But I am going to speak on gatekeeping. Black people cannot gatekeep anything. We don't get anything to ourselves. We don't get the N-word. We don't get AAVE. We don't get our clothes. We don't get the way we wear our hair, our makeup, our trends. We get nothing. We get to keep nothing. We can't even do a black girl follow train on TikTok without white people being upset about it. Black people don't get to have anything to ourselves. You're proving that point. Lastly, I would suggest you not use a Google search to learn what AAVE is.
Weird too, because I looked at this list of what AAVE was, and it was the most basic.
Sorry, for the way I look. I literally just woke up, but I saw this video and there were a lot of things that I took offense to, and honestly, it's kind of sad. As someone who used to think this way, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like the black community doesn't have problems with whitewashing its own people, because it definitely does. It will call you white if you talk a certain way, look a certain way, dress a certain way, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. But to call AVE American slang and basic because of that is even more damaging and harmful. African American Vernacular English, or AVE, historically is a dialect, and it comes from African American culture, whether people want to acknowledge it or not. And so black people being upset that white people are using AVE and using it wrong, it's offensive. Because I don't understand how people will recognize other cultural dialects and understand that people are allowed to be offended if you're using their cultural dialect wrong. But when it comes to AVE, everyone just goes deaf and they don't care about what we have to say. They don't care about what we have to hear. It is our cultural form of speaking. It literally stems from our culture. Yes, it has been gentrified and called American slang or Gen Z slang or gay slang, but it is not. It is historically from African Americans. So what's the issue? And if you're black and you don't use AVE, that's completely fine. It doesn't make you any less black. It doesn't make you white. It's a way of speaking. It's a dialect. And it's historically so, and if people would pick up a book or have a single cohesive thought for once in a while, maybe they could understand that. I'm kind of sick and tired of having to defend my dialect online just because y'all are adamant in appropriating it. And honestly, it's really frustrating. And to say that the reason behind why we are so protective over our literal cultural dialect is hatred? How is it hatred? If something is from a culture that you hold near and dear to your heart, you're going to be protective of it, are you not? That's what I thought. At the end of the day, your video was very misguided and hurtful, and it opened up the floodgates for a lot of people who aren't black to speak on our culture and our dialect. And whether you want to admit it or not, your video did more harm than good. AVE is a dialect, whether you like it or not.
I call BS because I don't speak just like every other black person.
Wow, so this was an interesting take that lacked a little bit of nuance. So I personally can identify as someone who was also made fun of for not sounding black enough in school, and I get it. Like, there is no one way to talk black. But this particular person's take on AAVE not being specific to the black community needs a little work. The problem with non-Black people using AAVE is not because, oh, they just grew up in Louisiana and this is how they sound. It's because a lot of them are using this accent to sound cool or to sound Black, and that becomes an issue. Take Iggy Azalea, for example. When she's not rapping, she sounds just like a regular old Australian woman. But the major problem with AAVE when used by non-Black people is when it becomes a caricature. Sure, some people are raised in New Orleans or raised in the Bronx or raised wherever, and just this is the accent that they heard around them and this is what they naturally developed. But for a lot of people, this is not the case. They use AAVE to sound cool, to put on vocal blackface, to present themselves differently to the world for whatever reason. And in case it wasn't clear, for the record, AAVE did derive from enslaved African people in the United States. But because Black people influence culture throughout the entire country and the world, obviously there are going to be people who want to emulate. There's nothing wrong with being a Black person who doesn't use AAVE. Maybe you just didn't grow up around people who spoke like that, and it doesn't make you any less Black. But let's not pretend that specific cultural signifiers don't exist throughout the world. Let's not pretend that AAVE is not specific to Black American culture.
White and I speak very proper, all because I pronunciate my words.
What in the Candace Owens is going on here, Stacey Dash? Okay, as much as I would love to get into all of this, there's literally not enough time. So let's just dispel this idea that this woman is speaking proper English and that people who speak AAVE are talking ghetto. Because I mean, what you are speaking, my dear, is not proper English. Proper English is the King's English. Okay, so if you want to talk about history, which you did in your second video, let's talk about history. When the colonists came over here, because of isolation and because of exposure to different languages, they took the King's English and bastardized it into what you're talking right now. So you talking bastardized King English. That's what you're talking. It's not proper English. Okay, so let's just get that straight. Language is basically a collective agreement over the people with which it governs. But if you look at the history of American English, it's not exactly a collective agreement of the people it governs because it left a whole lot of people out of that agreement. There's a perfect visual representation of this conundrum in the film Roots, where they're whipping him and they say, "What's your name?" And he says, "Kunta Kinte." And they say, "No, Toby." African Americans and other immigrants were historically left out of the agreement of this language. So if we cut to 2023 and we see, people saying, "Oh, you're in America, speak English," or we see like Spanglish, or we see like AAVE starting to come, we see like goblin mode in the dictionary, what we're seeing is other cultures actually contributing to the language, which is what language is. Now, as far as who can speak AAVE or not, well, culturally, that's what we're here to decide. We're actively in the middle of language being created. But we have people like you who are fighting it. But why? But actually, for real, challenging an existing language does not make you dumb or ghetto. It makes you smart and brave. So what's more interesting to me than this person's idea of if people who speak AAVE are ghetto or not, while they speak the ghetto version of the King's English? And curiously, while this person plays the victim of their Black family while saying they're not the victim of white people, why would a Black person speaking ghetto King's English deny Black people's contribution to language? What purpose would that serve? And who would they be doing that performative thing for? I don't know. You tell me, Toby.
So this is all we've got from the stitches, and I am very sure that next time she want to speak anything about Black people or about something, she absolutely got to really be very careful and be very sure of what she's speaking. I mean, how do people come out to say what they are not even sure of and then tell us some stories I feel like, I don't know, but her kind of mentality and all that is more like the way white people, those things they say to Black people, on a daily and all that. So, and kind of sucks, She actually do need a brain reset, like I said before. So this is where I am going to draw the curtain. Thank you all so much for all the support. I truly appreciate you all and see you all in my next video. Bye for now.